silence lingered. Steam drifted lazily through the healing chamber while moonlight across the pale waters. Queen Selene sat opposite Kenny, calm, patient, completely serious. Kenny simply stared at her. Marriage. The queen nodded. Marriage. Another long silence followed. The ruler of Reach folded his arms across the edge of the bath. For perhaps the first time since Eclipse, he genuinely didn't know what to say. The queen looked amused by that. "You're speechless." "I've been threatened by planetary governments," Kenny replied. "I've fought in Eclipse." Another pause. "I've stared down House Rain." The queen smiled. "And?" Kenny shook his head. "I wasn't expecting that." The queen laughed softly. Neither spoke for several moments. Eventually, Kenny leaned back slightly. "What makes you think this is a good idea?" The queen raised an eyebrow. "You want the honest answer? I'd prefer it." The queen nodded, then smiled. A genuine smile. Not a political one. Not a royal one. Just a woman smiling. "I like what you stand for." Kenny blinked once. The answer had come far too quickly to be rehearsed. The queen continued. "Most rulers speak about protecting people." Another pause. "Most rulers claim to care." Another, "You actually do." The room became quiet. The queen looked toward the city lights beyond the windows. "I watched Reach grow." Another pause. "I watched your broadcasts." Another. "I watched your response after the moon battle." Her eyes returned to him. "You built shelters." The queen shook her head slightly. Every other ruler would have built more weapons. Kenny remained silent. The queen smiled. "That's when I realized you were dangerous. That's usually not a compliment. It is from me." The queen laughed, then looked away briefly, almost embarrassed. Almost. Kenny immediately noticed. That was new. The queen eventually sighed. "Fine." Another pause. "You want the truly honest answer?" Kenny nodded. The queen pointed directly at him. "I had a crush on you." Silence. Absolute silence. Kenny blinked. The queen looked entirely too pleased with herself. "A what?" "A crush." The queen smiled. A ridiculous one. The ruler of Reach stared. The queen folded her arms. "You asked." Kenny rubbed his forehead. "You're a queen." "Correct." "You rule 6 planets." "Also correct." "You just admitted to having a crush." The queen laughed. "You're handling this worse than the marriage proposal." Kenny couldn't even argue. The queen eventually settled back comfortably. "You remember your entrance into Eclipse?" The question caught him off guard. "Barely. I remember it perfectly." Her smile widened. Everyone thought Lord Rain was entering. Another pause. The entire galaxy expected the legend. Another. "The man with 211 kills." The queen shook her head. "And then you walked out." The memory returned. The crowd, the interviews, the confusion, the sword. The queen continued. "You walked out carrying daggers." Another pause. Not the sword. Another. And every single person watching realized something was wrong. Kenny laughed quietly. The queen pointed dramatically. Then came the sword. Oh no. Oh yes, the queen was absolutely enjoying this. "You picked it up." Another pause. Spun. Another. "And kicked it directly back at your father." The queen looked entirely delighted. The entire galaxy lost its mind. Kenny shook his head. The queen continued. It embedded itself in the wall next to his head. Another pause. "And you just walked away?" The queen laughed. "That was the moment." "What moment?" "The moment I became completely fascinated." Kenny groaned. The queen looked entirely unashamed. It was magnificent. Most people called it disrespectful. Most people are boring. That answer actually made him laugh. The queen smiled proudly. Victory. The atmosphere softened. Comfortable now. Neither rushing the conversation. Eventually, Kenny looked toward her again. "You realize how powerful I am." The queen nodded. "Yes." Another pause. "You realize most people around me are intimidated." Again she nodded. "Yes." Another. "You realize marriage to me comes with problems." The queen laughed. "That might be the understatement of the century." Silence. Then Kenny leaned forward slightly. "So why?" The queen's answer came instantly. "Because I want it. Simple. Honest. No politics. No manipulation. Just certainty." The queen looked directly into his eyes. "And because I gain very little." That made Kenny pause. The queen continued. "If House Arcturus joins House Reach." She shrugged lightly. "My planets become yours." Another pause. Our fleets become yours. Another. Our resources become yours. The room fell quiet. The Queen smiled softly. In return, my people gain protection. Another pause. And I get to spend my life with someone I respect. The simplicity of the answer caught him off guard. Then Kenny smiled. Slowly. Dangerously. The Queen immediately became suspicious. What? Kenny folded his arms. You forgot something. The Queen blinked. What? Kenny pointed toward her. The inheritance clause. Silence. The Queen frowned. What inheritance clause? Now Kenny was amused. That was unexpected. You don't know? The Queen stared. No. Kenny laughed. Actually laughed. The Queen looked offended. What's funny? You proposed marriage without reading the succession laws? The Queen's face immediately turned red. Oh no, oh yes. Kenny was enjoying this far too much. The Queen buried her face in one hand. Please don't. Kenny couldn't stop laughing. The Queen pointed toward him. I will leave. No, you won't. I absolutely will. You still don't know the clause. The Queen groaned, then reluctantly lowered her hand. Fine. Another pause. What clause? Kenny smiled. If I die first. The Queen listened. Did you get your planets back? She nodded. Reasonable. Kenny continued. And reach. Silence. The Queen froze. What? You inherit reach. Another pause. Everything. The Queen stared, then stared some more, then looked genuinely horrified. I didn't know that. Kenny immediately believed her, because nobody could fake embarrassment that well. The Queen buried her face in both hands. Oh, stars. Kenny laughed again. The Queen groaned. This sounds terrible. It sounds suspicious. I know. The Queen looked up. I genuinely didn't know. The sincerity was obvious. Kenny finally stopped laughing. Eventually he nodded. I believe you. The Queen relaxed slightly. Thank you. Silence settled again. Comfortable this time. The Queen eventually looked toward him. So? Kenny thought about it for a long time, then finally answered, I need time. The Queen nodded immediately. No disappointment, no pressure, just understanding. How much? A few weeks. The Queen smiled. I can survive that. The conversation drifted after that. Lighter topics, stories, travel, life. Eventually the evening ended, and the next morning arrived. The transport stood waiting at the Royal Starport. Crowds filled the viewing platforms. News drones floated overhead. The visit had become major news throughout Tyrannus space. Pines adjusted his jacket. Lyra checked their boarding clearance. Kenny stood near the boarding ramp. Queen Selene approached personally. No advisors, no guards, just her. For several moments neither spoke. Then the Queen smiled softly. Please consider our private conversation. Kenny looked toward her for a moment, then another. Finally he nodded. I will. And then he winked. The Queen completely froze for perhaps 3 full seconds. Then Kenny turned and walked toward the transport. Behind him, the ruler of 6 planets looked entirely too happy. One of her advisors nearly choked. Another looked horrified. A third looked delighted. The Queen simply stood there smiling like a teenager who had just received the best news of her life. The transport ramp closed. The engines ignited. Moments later, they lifted into the sky. Only once they were safely in orbit did Lyra finally speak. Kenny. He looked up. Pines immediately pointed. What was the private conversation?